Here's how you can start getting stronger every single week, regardless of your current rate of progress, without adding extra training to your program, provided you've got 40 minutes a week that you can dedicate to training. I have been there in the past, putting 4, 5, 6 hours a week consistently into training, doing what I think is a perfect program, nailing my diet, and yet making no tangible progress with my strength gain. Yes, it's true, making changes to your body does take time, but continuing on like this week after week, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is quite literally the definition of insanity. And if you don't fix this fast, you're setting yourself up to, at best, get no results and make no further progress, but at worst, and this is far more common, is that you soon lose motivation because of that lack of results, and then quickly fall off the wagon and stop training entirely. And I see this way too often, and so I want to show you how to avoid that. So here's how you can quickly put a stop to that lack of strength gain and start getting fast, tangible results with your strength training from as little as 6 movements, half an hour of work a week. And in doing that, ensure that you actually continue progressing long term. In guaranteeing rapid progress with our strength, there's only really 2 things we've got to get right. The first is how we signal that strength gain, and then the second is how we actually allow that strength gain to occur. The single driver of progress with your strength is intensity. It's how heavy the movement you're trying to do is relative to your maximum possible ability, your maximum level of strength that you could exert. And to be an effective stimulus, to be something that actually tells your body, hey, go build muscle, get stronger, and do it fast, that stimulus needs to be as heavy as physically possible for you at that point in time. And so that's a simple concept. Most people are aware of it to some extent. Rather than worrying about that, if we can remove every barrier that normally gets in the way of us achieving that, then it's going to allow us the time, attention, physical resources, energy to actually get it done. So there's 3 things I see constantly getting in the way of people being able to actually use properly intense stimulus to signal strength gain. The first is trying to do too much weekly volume, too many reps, too many sets, too much time in the gym. The simple fact of the matter is that if you are trying to spread your energy, your physical resources over sets and sets and sets, and reps of work over the week, trying to put in 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week of training, by the nature of human physiology, that work cannot be a constant high quality, because we just don't have that much maximum intensity strength exertion potential in us each week. So by trying to do 20 sets per muscle group, by trying to spend 4 hours a week in the gym, we ensure that we are diluting the quality of our training. And so not only does that take us more time, expose us to injury, etc., but it simply means, in terms of progress, that we are fighting a constant battle against trying to do high intensity, quality, strength signaling work versus trying to last the reps, the sets, the workouts that we've set ourselves to do for the week. The second issue, in the same vein, is trying to work too many movements at a time. When you have 4 different chest exercises, 4 different leg exercises, 7 different exercises to target every head of your shoulder from every angle possible, it quickly becomes very difficult to channel your focus into actually pushing progress on any of them. And strength gain does not come down to how many types of lateral raises you do in a week. It comes down to the level that you get your strength to. It's progressive overload. It's very simple. But again, we get in our own way. If you're trying to push progress on 20, 30 different exercises at any given point in your training career, it's very likely that you're not pushing much progress on any. And so rather than throwing the kitchen sink at our bodies and expecting a huge amount of different stimuli to just work their magic and make us stronger, if we just have a handful of carefully chosen exercises, only use 6, 1 for each basic plane of motion, then we can channel all our resources every single time we show up to train them into actually being better than we were the week before, to pushing progress. And past an absolute beginner level, that strength gain will not happen without that intent. It does not happen by itself. And it's hard. And so if we want to give ourselves the best chance possible of pushing that progress, of guaranteeing that it's happening, having as few movements as possible to be progressing on is, in my experience, by far the best strategy. And the third thing that gets in the way of people getting anywhere with regular strength gain is not having clear targets to get their strength to. Without specific, very difficult strength goals, your training has no purpose and there is no direction that you are trying to get your movements to. Because again, impressive strength gain won't come from just a few weeks of randomly doing exercises. It takes years of consistent progress in a single direction on each of your movements. And so without a long-term North Star for each of your basic movements, without a goal that you know is going to take you years, you know is going to require huge amounts of muscle mass to be built, that's going to require your body to literally transform in order to do, without those, your training's weak, it's directionless, and you are never going to show up and train with the intensity required to make the progress necessary because you don't even know what that progress looks like. It's human nature to take the easiest route to getting a result, and if your goal is purely to show up and work hard, the easiest way to do that is by doing very little. If you want to get to impressive levels of strength, you need to get very clear on what that looks like for you specifically, not have too many goals. Again, I only have 6 that I'm building to long term, and then you might just stand a scrap of a chance of your training taking you there. So they are the 3 things I see stopping people from getting effective training done in order to stimulate their bodies to get stronger, build muscle tissue, make the transformation that we want to come as a result of effective strength training. So that's the signal. But once we've sent that signal, we've got clear strength targets, we've only got a handful of them, and we're doing as little work each week as possible to make sure that work is potent and actually sending a clear, effective signal to grow stronger. Where does the actual strength gain itself come from? And that all comes down to recovery, because you don't get stronger in the gym. You don't get stronger when you're training, when you're on the rings, working hard. You get stronger in the rest of the time, when you're eating, when you're sleeping, when you're having a shower, when you're at work. And so if we want to maximize the rate of progress that we're making with our strength, it makes sense to also ensure that we're not putting up barriers to our body going about that recovery as effectively as possible. And there are a few things that people miss here as well. I think the recovery side is much, much simpler and more straightforward than sending the signal itself, but it's equally important. And if we're undercutting ourselves here, then there's so much progress that we're leaving on the table and so much more bang for our buck that we could be getting out of our training. And there's essentially 2 things. The first is massive and something that just fixing this alone will allow you to get almost all of the benefits out of your training, and that is getting enough protein in. If we don't need enough protein, then our bodies simply won't have enough building blocks at their disposal to build the muscle tissue required to get stronger. But this doesn't have to be anything crazy. 1.8 grams per kilogram body weight pretty much reaches the point of diminishing returns with this. So if you're an 80 kilo guy, eating 150 grams of protein a day is ample to make sure that you're not shortchanging yourself in terms of your diet. And people worry about calories and thinking they need to bulk and freaking themselves out. If you are eating enough protein and you are training properly, I've met very few people who need to consciously worry about their calorie intake. Your appetite has evolved for good reason. It's very rarely calories that are stopping you from getting stronger. It's a lack of proper training, as we've talked about. And then if there's anything with diet, it's just about that protein target. So if you can figure out a way to make that part of your lifestyle, it's going to pay dividends for decades to come, quite literally. And the other main parts of this is just getting good sleep and rest. We often try so hard to push ourselves to make progress in fitness and in other parts of our lives. But honestly, all the training I do fits into half an hour a week. It's really not that much. It still takes my body all those other hours in the week to recover and build and grow stronger. And so the best thing you can do once you're training well and you protein, you want to maximize progress you can make, it's to look after yourself. Get enough hours sleep, get downtime in your life, and just give your body the space it needs to do its thing and grow. And so these are some of the problems I see getting in the way of people making regular weekly progress with their strength. What I've found to be so true is that if we can just remove these blocks, these barriers to getting results, the gains tend to happen by themselves. Remove the excess training from your routine. Remove all the extra exercises. Chisel them down to a few clear strength goals. Then make sure you're fueling yourself with enough protein and getting good rest. And you will find that strength gain is not that complicated or difficult or time consuming at all. In fact, it's extremely time efficient, rewarding, and fun. And rather than being a demotivating, unsustainable approach, you get those things right, and that process quickly becomes very addictive and self-sustaining. And that's what I'd like as many people as possible to realize because the benefits are just so incredible. If you need help focusing your training down and figuring out what effective strength goals look like, watch this video. And if you want to see how you can cut down the excess volume and get maximum bang for your buck in terms of potent training to build your strength on those movements, then check out this video. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you'd like to learn more about in the comments, and I'll chat to you soon.